Hi, I'm Dan. Thanks for checking in to see what's going on in Dimgaard. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to expand on the supplement that I'm working on. This is a GLD30, and it's Dragonborn CR0 to 20. So first, the reason for this, with encounters with gold, as well as other stuff, Dragonborn end up being a pretty significant part of the story. They've used them a lot, right? The manifestation of most dragonkin in Dimgaard is Dragonborn. Now, historically, what I've done is I've taken the NPCs from Volos or the Monster Manual and applied Dragonborn to them, and that works out pretty good. But there are some problems with it at very low CRs, like CR0, like a commoner, or even like CR1/8 with bandits or cultists or whatever. The Dragonborn breath weapon is too strong. Dragonborn breath weapon is a fixed 2d6, right? And that's just too much damage. It's an AoE. Right? It's going to affect 2 or 3 PCs, and that's too much AoE for those very low CRs. Conversely, once you get above like CR2, it's just inconsequential, right? That 2d6 is you'd much rather have your Dragonborn veteran attacking with his 2 longsword attacks and short sword than using his 1 easily saved breath weapon. So it ends up being something that's never used above CR2. And then so what's the point, right? It's just for flavor. Doesn't have a real influence on the game. So that approach, which is what is recommended with PC races when you want to make them opponents in the DMG, just doesn't really do it for me. I have the same problem with tieflings, and although there are things you can do with tieflings, but anyway, back to Dragonborn. So I'm going to have and it's not going to be an NPC. I'm not going to scale it up based on character class, right? The way I've done with some other stuff. I'm just going to take a Dragonborn as a CR0 with like a breath weapon that only does 1d6 and has a save of of 11, right? And only has a range of like 5 feet. And then we're going to just build that out all the way up to CR20. So part of that is identifying the elements of that are intrinsic to Dragonborn, and so that is resistance to damage type, the breath weapon. And then there are things about the PC race that don't really reflect the heritage, the history behind Dragonborn that I want to incorporate. So, and that will help me to scale them. So at higher CRs, we're going to give them the true sight, which is reflective of their draconic heritage. If you look at dragons, they all have true sight. We're probably going to give them a tail attack at higher CRs. At lower CRs, we want them to be able to infiltrate human communities. So we're probably going to give them some innate spell casting to disguise self as well. Anyway, so that's the point. So we're going to identify those traits that we really associate with Dragonborn and their draconic heritage, and we're going to take great liberties with the breath weapon. Right? We're not the player's handbooks it's strict adherence to 2d6s. It just doesn't work for us. So we are going to expand on that greatly, and we'll end up with a challenge that will be appropriate for any level of PC. And then once I get towards the finish, I will stop back in and show you give some excerpts, show what it looks like. So just to illustrate my process here, I've completed the introduction to the supplement, and there's a summary and some description of how the DM might want to use it. I also go ahead and up front outline the strategy I'm going to use in creating the creature progression from CR0 to 20. Then we have some sidebars relating specifically to the Dragonborn that I'll be. I have some attack riders that will not increase, that'll have no effect on CR, but a DM can implement to make things more interesting. And then I have a set of 3 legendary actions that a DM can attach for very exceptional Dragonborn if the DM needs legendary actions. And then I'm ready to actually start building the stat blocks. All right, so now I'm about to actually start building the Dragonborn stat blocks. And what I'm starting with here is a reference. I've scanned, so that I don't have to keep flipping back and forth to the book. I've scanned the chart off of page 230, 74 of the Dungeon Master's Guide, so that I have it readily accessible while I am building these stat blocks. And so I'm looking here at the first stat block, of course, is going to be a CR0, right? So I need an armor class of 13 or less with 1 to 6 hit points. So the CR0 version is going to be a medium creature with a D8 hit dice. That's going to give them 4 hit points. So they're going to be within that hit point range. I could even give them a little bit of constitution, right? And then for the damage, right, I've got to have an attack bonus of less than 3 and a damage per round of 0. So if they have a 10 strength or even an 11 strength, right, they can have, with a proficiency bonus of +2, they can be +2 to hit with an unarmed attack that will deal 1 point of damage because there's no strength modifier. And then the breath weapon, we can have that dealing a 5-foot cone or a 10-foot line, so that it only affects 1 target. And if we take that save DC down to 11, and so that would be 8 plus the proficiency bonus. This is of 2 makes it 10, plus 1 for the con modifier. The DCs on their breath weapons are going to be Constitution based. So that's going to give us the 11. So we can actually do 3 points of damage, right? We can do it the same damage as a CR18, which would be a D6. So we'll have a 1D6 breath weapon, and that only recharges on like a 6, and only affects someone immediately adjacent, a 5-foot cone or a 5-foot line. Yeah, so that's going to be pretty straightforward as far as that goes. The armor class, we're going to go ahead and give them some natural armor because of their scales, and that will be it. They'll have, and I guess maybe a dex. We'll give them a little bit of a dex. So like a 12 dex, and then 2 natural armor. Maybe just 1 natural armor, so that we have some room to scale that up in tier 1. And then, so with that in mind, we're ready to create the stat block. Okay, so got this done, ready to send it off to my editor. Just a quick look at what we've done here. Right, so went in and we've got he's using a halberd for reach. He's got his breath weapon that has the scaling that I talked about that deviates from the player's handbook. But we are still using elements of the player's handbook, like we're referencing the draconic ancestry there to determine the damage type as well as the damage resistance. And I talked about adding disguise self, and I actually opted against that. I think that just proficiency with a disguise kit will serve the job. And I like to reduce magic as much as possible in Dimgaard. We prefer to be kind of a low magic environment. And so since a mundane, there's a mundane solution in that expertise in the disguise kit, we will use that instead of disguise self and having to add in innate spell casting and all that would entail. Yeah, so we're pretty happy with this. Yeah, see what the editor says, but I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. Thanks again for checking in.